Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today we are going to be taking a look at the big combat scene that was running in Kaiju number 8 from somewhere in the mid-70s through Chapter 80. Specifically, we're going to be looking at Kikoru Shinomiya in the middle of the fight, and how Matsumoto has expertly set up two different options as likely scenarios for the fight to end. Now this is going to be all full of spoilers for Kaiju number 8 through Chapter 80, so if you don't want any spoilers for those, you can go check out the links below the video to get yourself a copy of my book, Humans Are Weird, Let's Work It Out, or available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo by Rakuten, anywhere books are sold. But now, let's analyze how exactly Matsumoto set up two excellent possibilities for the culmination of this fight. So, what we have here is your classic Shonen Jump manga. In fact, the biggest criticism of this series that people seem to have so far is that it's very, very basic as a Shonen Jump manga. And so, now, it turns out that it's just very, very well done. And it really doesn't matter how basic the premise of your manga is if you have well-developed characters, good writing, and just excellent art. But we do see many tropes that are very common. For instance, the past chapters and the future chapters, as far as the eye can see, are the first tourney arc. A nice long tourney arc where individual warriors that we've come to know and love go up against their antagonists. In this case, the Kaiju sent after them, specifically tailored to their weaknesses by Kaiju number 9. Now, when you have a superhero team, and that's essentially what this is, and you have a villain who specifically tailors individual opponents to go after the known weaknesses of that superhero team, we all have been reading comics long enough to know the answer to that. The Kaiju Defense Force is not going to be able to defeat these Kaiju without mixing and matching. So we've got to get the Kaiju going up against someone they weren't specifically designed to defeat. And so we're all waiting for that. But for now, we're in the middle of a battle. The warrior we're currently watching, Kikoru Shinomiya, has been matched up against her dark and evil twin. And she is just getting her butt handed to her. Not physically, because there's probably not a Kaiju in existence who could truly just dominate Kikoru physically. She's that powerful. Kikoru is that fast. She's that strong. So Kaiju number 9 didn't even try. Instead of a super fast or super powerful Kaiju, Kaiju number 9 put all of his effort into regeneration power for Kaiju number 15. So Kaiju number 15 is very much a distributed network. Instead of depending on one core and needing a body to support that core, she has a distributed network of, they look like neural cells, but they also could be fungal filaments. So no matter what Kikoru does to her, Kaiju number 15 just dissolves and reassembles. Now, the main drawback to this tactic is that it reduces the strength of the attacker, and so Kaiju number 15 isn't going to be able to best Kikoru in actual combat. At best, Kaiju number 15 can just run away. So, Kaiju number 9 gave Kaiju number 15 a psychic attack. He took all of the information from Director General Issho Shinomiya and applied it to finding Kikoru's weakness, which was fairly obvious. The massive scar and gaping hole in her psyche that was caused by the loss of her mother and then her father. And this is what Kaiju number 15 is using just to batter down Kikoru. And Kikoru is trapped in this sinking pit of self-recrimination and trauma. So that's the situation as it stands. Obviously, we're going to need to bring someone who's not Kikoru in to fight Kaiju number 15. Someone who Kaiju number 15 can't predict, someone who Kaiju number 15 can't attack that way. Now, we know that Director General Issho Shinomiya knows a lot about a lot of his officers. But he doesn't know nearly as much about them as as he knew about Kikoru. So obviously the rest of the rookies who hasn't had a chance to get to know are obviously the best bet for bringing in someone to battle Kaiju number 15. But let's look at her other capacities: regeneration and distribution. She can regenerate, making the obvious other member of the defense force to come rescue her Kafka Haibino. And that would be a mirror to the times that Kafka has rescued Kikoru before. That's how they first met, after all. The other nature, her ability to move and distribute throughout the ground, that's the soft, clinging, tendril nature of Kaiju number 15, suggests that Reno would be a good choice to come in and in this fight. Because, after all, think about this. Let's look at the Reno option first. I call this the physical option. Reno is the best one to back up Kikoru in a fight. They're moderately good friends, of course, but Reno's ability to support her is really based on his combat ability. And in the case of Kaiju number 15, who depends on these sticky tendrils going everywhere, Reno really is the best choice, because no doubt Kaiju number 15 also has tendrils in the ground. Physical matter isn't really a barrier to her. She can just go around it. But how do you stop something like that from moving? You freeze it. If you've ever had gum in your hair, you've probably had your mom go get an ice cube, hold the ice cube against it, and then you can pull out a brittle frozen gum much easier than you can sticky, clingy gum. So simply by combat ability, Reno is the best one to come and rescue Kikoru right now. He can freeze the very ground on which they're standing, and he can make Kaiju number 15 brittle instead of sticky and gooey and flexible like she is now. Because no matter how much physical trauma Kaiju number 15 takes, you're not going to do any actual damage to her body, because her body will just reform. She doesn't even have to regenerate her body like Kaiju number 8 and Kaiju number 9 do, because she just brings it back together and stitches the existing parts back together. So you need some form of extreme trauma to break her apart. Freezing her, turning her brittle, would allow Kikoru to shatter the pieces of the body beyond repair. So if the culmination of this fight is going to depend on physical strength, I think Matsumoto has firmly established that Reno's the one to do it. We go all the way back to that first battle where the second battle, where Kikoru and Reno are battling the Wyvern Kaiju in Tachikawa base. Kikoru was about to get killed. She was about to get overpowered by simply the sheer number and the fact that she was significantly weaker back then. And Reno comes up and freezes her opponent, slows them down. And she says, all right, if you can keep up, you can do it with me. Then you have another element that says quite probably Reno is going to be the one to come rescue her. Now, if you look at the battle scene here with Kikoru fighting Kaiju number 15, the officers were actively watching the power she was drawing from her suit spike in battle, because Kikoru wanted it so badly. Her intense desire was working with her suit to drive the power up. And since she was already at so high a level, you didn't see the immediate physical trauma that we saw last time. Also, the suit seems to be a little easier on the body than the other suit, because we've seen that exact thing happen before. A high-level Defense Force officer actively amping up his ability to draw power out of the suit actively during battle. Now, that was Reno acting under the tutelage of the captain of the 4th Division. And the captain of the 4th Division automatically recognized that as a bad thing, but none of his other officers do. So first off, numbered weapons are rare, so not every officer has a lot of experience with them. Secondly, this reaction is reasonably rare, so we've got a subset of a subset. So this battle is, how badly it's going is partially on Okunogi and Kurusu, because they didn't catch that Kikoru was upping her power too fast, that it was that not her mastering the suit, but the suit mastering her that we saw in Reno's battle. So again, we have the mirror with Reno. Kikoru's is using her axe to battle an enemy that's too agile for her. Her emotional blind spots mean she's been taken out, and now she needs someone to come in and freeze it so that she can overcome her mental psychic weakness and just shatter kaiju number 15. So Reno is what we'll call the physical rescue option. But again, there's another option. We have Kikoru desperately trying to get the approval of her parents. Then a kaiju shows up that's beyond her ability to fight, catches her by surprise, and her last thoughts are she's failed her parents. So you have this image of Kikoru, broken and battered, completely overmastered, gone beyond her current power, and just fixating on how she's failed her parents. Again, we've seen this before. Way back, I think it was chapter 9, right before Kafka shows up as kaiju number 8 and rescues her from the Hanju. Then he immediately turns to her, and instead of just being satisfied with preserving her mental state, he looks at her and said, "You need to prioritize your own health more." And he addresses the physical part of her health. So kaiju number 8's power to counter kaiju regeneration would also be a great counter to kaiju number 15. And we've had the reason kaiju is being held back was because of his value to the defense force. But the High Command is pretty valuable to the defense force, and the Director General was quite ready to sacrifice the safety of the High Command to make sure the linchpin of the defense force will be kept safe. So here's the 3 things that point to Kafka. Number 1, Kafka, the mirroring of this combat scene to the first time kaiju number 8 rescues Kikoru. Kafka's long-established relationship as supplying the praise for Kikoru that she never got from her father. That's the second bit. And the third bit is Kafka was kept out of the fight with the giant kaiju because he's too valuable an asset to be used. But there is no doubt in anyone's mind that Kikoru is a more valuable asset to the defense force because she has a morale boosting quality that Kafka and kaiju number 8 couldn't even have even if they went public. So that means that Kafka, being less valuable than Kikoru, should probably be brought into this fight now, if they bring him in at all. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? You've heard my reasoning. Reno, with his triple beat of freezing ability, being primed to take down kaiju number 15. His backups, his history of backup and support to Kikoru. And the mirror of him letting the suit overwhelm his mind with the power, and her letting the suit overwhelm her mind with the power. Or Kafka, with his triple beat of being the one who supplies Kikoru with the praise she never got from her father, of having already rescued her in a very similar situation, and that very tactical analysis of their relative value to the defense force that's been going on in the chapters immediately previous. Seriously, tell me, what do you think? Is Reno going to sweep in to rescue her? Is Kafka going to sweep in to rescue her? Or is there going to be a secret third option? Hit that like and subscribe button. Go get yourself a copy of my book, and peace out.